today I'm giving you the 10 things I wish somebody told me about testosterone before I even walked in and asked a doctor for it. And the exact words to say at your appointment so nobody ever laughs you out of the office again. What kind of grown-ass man calls a woman honey at a doctor's appointment? The problem was never you. It was the man in the coat who couldn't be bothered to do his fucking job. I'm going to tell you about the most embarrassing thing that testosterone fixed for me, and I've never said it on this channel. If your sex drive up and ghosted you, if you're dragging through your day on fumes, and every doctor you've asked about it kind of just smiles and tells you that you're fine, this one's for you. I'm 48 and I'm a skincare founder and a clinical nutritionist. And I've spent $1.3 million, yes, really, trying to stay hot as fuck for as long as I possibly can. And a big chunk of that money was spent on getting my hormones dialed in, testosterone included. So today I'm giving you the 10 things I wish somebody had told me about testosterone before I even walked in and asked a doctor for it. I want to share with you what it actually did for me, the magic number that every doctor chases that doesn't really exist, the one test that almost all of them get wrong, and the exact words to say at your appointment so nobody ever laughs you out of the office again. And if a doctor's ever told you to just be grateful your husband still finds you attractive, what? Stay right here because that one actually happened and I have thoughts. I'm Cynthia Garcia, your foul-mouthed fairy godmother. I grew up dirt poor in Appalachia. I dumpster dived for makeup, and I got called ugly enough times that I started to believe it. Then I made some money, and I spent it figuring out how to be hot as fuck at any age. This is I'd Like to Thank Myself, the show where I try every procedure and product so you don't have to, and then I tell you what's worth it and what to leave where you found it. Now, if you are new around these parts, welcome, and a quick disclaimer. I cuss like a shit ton, a lot. That's just how I talk. Now, if that's not for you, that's totally okay, but this is your stop. But if you stay, don't come at me in the comments because I literally just fucking warned you. And if you are staying, grab a drink because we have got some shit to talk about. Now, the grown-up sentence that I have to say because my lawyer makes me is this. I'm a nutritionist, a beauty expert, a skincare founder, and a whole lot of other shit. But I am not a doctor. I don't even play one on the internet. And I am definitely not your doctor. Although that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Everything that I'm about to tell you is my own experience, and it's what I've learned, not what you should do. It's just what I do. So take all of it off to a doctor who won't laugh at you or hand you marriage advice. You're like, what? I'll come back to that. So the number one thing I wish I had known about testosterone is that you're not too young. Now, real quick, here is the fact that reframes this whole conversation that you and I are about to have. Testosterone is actually the most abundant sex hormone in a woman's body much of her reproductive life. I know. We make more of it than women realize, and we've all been raised to think that it's a man's hormone. It is not. And testosterone doesn't suddenly become relevant just, when you're 60. Our levels actually decline across our reproductive years, which means this conversation can actually start way earlier than most women think. So you are not too young, most likely, for a testosterone conversation. And I tell you this because I was so sure that I was too young to have this conversation for years. And I was wrong. This is not some far off problem that waits for a milestone birthday to show up. If anything, you might actually be late to the conversation, and that's not your fault. This is just the first time that anybody has said that to you out loud. Nobody handed you the memo. There is no memo. I guess I'm the memo. Anyways, that's number 1. So there's 9 more coming, and number 10 is the one that you actually need, which is the exact words to walk in with so nobody ever dismisses you again. But first, the doctor who told my friend the wildest fucking thing. You're not going to believe this. Okay, so this is number 2. I wish I had known that they might dismiss you, but it doesn't mean you're crazy. Okay, so I was having coffee with a friend of mine a few months ago. I do this, it's my thing. Anyways, as soon as we sit down, she says to me, I have to tell you what happened with my doctor, and you're not going to believe it. And you know me, I'm like, bitch, tell me everything. So she did. She went in to ask her doctor about testosterone because she'd heard me talk about mine and she wanted to look into it for herself. Cool. Probably from that last episode I did. You know, the one where the doctor laughed in my face when I asked about it. And then he asked me if I wanted to start lifting weights and bodybuilding. Do you remember? Did you see that episode? Anyway, her doctor looks at her in this appointment and says, honey, now before we go any further, what kind of grown-ass man calls a woman honey at a doctor's appointment? Nah, what? I digress. He says to her, honey, just be thankful your husband still finds you attractive. Susan, don't throw the phone. Honey, you're going to have to pay for that if you do, but I know what the fuck. This motherfucker is not being asked for his opinion on her marriage. She is asking for a hormone that her own body used to make every single day before it got lazy. And if you've ever sat in a doctor's chair and you've been made to feel dramatic or vain or like you're asking for too much, I really want you to hear me on this. You are not crazy and you're not asking for too much. The problem was never you. It was the man in the coat who couldn't be bothered to do his fucking job. And all the scary questions, by the way, that you might have about testosterone, like, will I grow a beard? Am I going to get muscles? The clitoris question that a grown man typed into my comments. I answered all of those in the last testosterone episode. It's going to be linked right after this one. And I'll also put it in the comments and the description. So if that's what you're nervous about, make sure that you watch that episode after you're done here. This one is going to show you, once you're ready for testosterone, how to do something about it. All right, number 3, I wish somebody would have told me how I would know that it was a real thing. So people ask me this. They'll say, is this actually a real thing? Does it actually do anything, testosterone, or is it all just hype on the interwebs? Well, that's a great question. Here's how I know it's real for me. So it wasn't that long ago. I've been using it for a long time now, but I ran out. Now, I always keep a backup of like literally everything, but I ran out of one container. And then I go to grab the backup, and the backup was the empty one. I know, I just never threw it away, I guess. Cool. Listen, I got busy, between raising a teenager and aging parents and running a company and that eternal, what do you want for dinner conversation? The one that we all have. It's slowly ending my life. I forgot to refill the testosterone. And it took me about 2 weeks to get the refill. And during that 2 weeks, my sex drive crawled behind a rock and I couldn't coax it out. My workouts were harder. I just wasn't as strong. And that brain fog rolled right back in. Now, was all of that testosterone? Maybe it was something else. And I just happened to notice it during that time. I don't know. But here's the honest verdict, and I'll take it to my grave. The studies haven't chased down every good thing that women say testosterone does for us. And do you want to know why? Because funding for research is scarce on women to begin with. But as you age and you can't make babies anymore, you stop being useful to society. So why would we do studies on you? So not proven doesn't mean it doesn't work. Sometimes it means that nobody bothered to check. So I'm giving you both, what the science actually signed off on and what I live in my life every single day. And I'll tell you which is which the whole way through. So that's number 3. Coming up, I'm going to tell you the test that almost every doctor gets wrong. But first, number 4. I wish somebody would have told me that there is no single magic number. I know. Listen, I get this question constantly. People will say to me, Cynthia, what's the number that I'm trying to hit for my testosterone? And the truth is, there isn't one. I know why you're asking. I do. I get it. And you hear people online and, they'll tell you that a menopausal woman should be at 65 or 75 or whatever the fuck they've decided is the magic number. But there is no magic universal testosterone number that every woman is trying to hit. See, that's not how the guidelines work. The number is just part of the picture. It's not the whole thing. 2 women can sit at the same exact level. One can feel incredible and the other is going to feel like shit. So the number guides the conversation. It does not end it. Your symptoms matter too. And if you're actually taking testosterone, those labs also matter because your doctor needs to make sure that your levels aren't getting too high. So when somebody tells you that you need to hit one specific number, they're guessing at your body with someone else's math. It's like a magic 8-ball. That's truly what it comes down to. There's no magic number. There's you, your symptoms, your lab, and a doctor who hopefully knows what the fuck they're doing. And that right there, getting past normal to what's actually optimal for you, comparing your labs and your dose against what worked for other women who felt exactly like you do, that's the conversation happening every single day inside the Vanity Club. We talk about the doctors who actually listen, the labs to ask for, what dose finally worked for who, and so on. So if that's the club you want to be a part of, the link is in the description. All right, number 5, I wish I would have been told earlier that you're actually allowed to want it. So number 5 is not about a lab. It's the thing that's underneath all of this, and that is that you are allowed to want testosterone. So let me take you back to where this idea of it being okay to want it first started for me. I was in my first real job, and it was in a Fortune 500 company, and I was going to take advantage of that shit. Listen, I was going to climb the corporate ladder and have everything because I grew up with nothing. And I thought, this is my ticket to a whole new life. I worked my ass off. I got there early, I stayed late, and when it came time for my first 6-month review, I showed up like it was the Oscars. I was dressed up, I was early, I was holding a whole page of stuff that I had written up the night before of everything I wanted to do in the company and where I was going in my career there. And my boss, he got to picture the beigest man you've ever met in your life. That's him. But he was also a really nice guy. I'm not trying to talk shit. I'm just saying. Anyways, he looks at me and he says, it's cute. I'll never forget it. He said that word, cute. He said, it's cute that you're ambitious, but the smartest thing you can do is start your own little business or just be happy in whatever spot you land in here. If you look nice and you don't make a fuss, you'll be fine. But you're never going to be in the C-suite, so you should probably just make your peace with that now. The fuck? Who says that? I sat there and I felt the want just drain right out of me. It's like somebody pulled the plug underneath my chair. And I was also embarrassed. I was like, wait, I thought this was how it worked. Have I gotten it all wrong? I just felt like I'd made a fool of myself. That was the first time somebody told me to my face that a woman's job is to want less, take up less, need less. And decades later, my own body tried to hand me the same exact speech. Slow down, want less. This is just aging. This is what it's like now. And I just refused that. So if some part of you feels guilty for wanting testosterone, the drive, the sex, the ambition, anything at your age, hear me out on this. You're allowed to still want all of it. Wanting is not something you were supposed to hand back at 40. And maybe nobody ever told you that either. All right, that's 5. Now back to the receipts. Coming up, I've got the form that nobody warned you about. And number 10 is the words for the appointment. But first, why your labs keep coming back a lie. I wish somebody had told me number 6, which is you're testing the wrong thing. Most doctors test your testosterone completely wrong. And it's the reason that so many of you got told that your levels were normal while you feel like hot garbage. Here's the deal. So they usually only run your total testosterone, which is every bit of that shit that's in your blood, including the stuff that's locked up doing absolutely nothing for you. Because a big chunk of that testosterone is actually handcuffed to a protein and it can't get into your cells to do a single thing. So it's kind of like your testosterone is sitting in the back of the squad car like it shoplifted something from Neiman's, and your doctors are looking at your labs telling you that everything looks great. They're normal. So here's the verdict, the thing that I would do. If it were me, I would make sure that they check the free testosterone plus SHBG, sex hormone binding globulin. That's what that stands for. And that's the protein that's doing the handcuffing, not just the total. And I would also ask my doctor what those numbers actually mean together, because one testosterone number by itself cannot tell you why you feel like shit. And that's the part that I wish somebody would have explained to me. All right, real quick, if you've ever walked out of a doctor's office feeling like the crazy one, do me a favor and hit subscribe. That's the whole channel. I go figure this stuff out. I get told that I'm fine when I am very much not fine. I get the truth and then I come back and tell it to you. So if you're into that kind of thing, subscribe. So that's 6 down. We've got 4 more to go. And number 7 is the one that most women get wrong before they even start. And then remember, number 10, still coming up, is exactly what you're going to want to say in that appointment. So number 7, I wish somebody had told me whether or not I should use a cream, a gel, a pellet, or a shot. I know. The fuck do you figure that out, right? It matters. And I get asked this a lot. Like in the comments, you guys will ask all the time, do I take a cream? What about a shot? What about a pellet? And the answer matters more than you actually think. So here's the deal. The cream and the gel, they go on your skin and they're the gentle ones because you can keep your levels in a normal range and they're really easy to adjust. The pellets, they slide under your skin, but they're harder to adjust the levels once they're actually in. You get that, right? And then there's the shots, and those are the ones that the top hormone doctors in the world actually don't recommend for women because they tend to overshoot. They don't just gently top off your levels. They can overflow your levels way past a woman's normal range, kind of like a teenager who found your credit card. And that overflow is where every scary thing that you've heard comes from. You know, the deep voice, the beard, the clitoris that resembles a small man's part. You get it. All of it comes from too much of a good thing. So I like a cream or a gel and going low and slow. And you should also know that there's no version on a shelf that's made for women when it comes to testosterone. It has to be compounded or mixed for you by hand, which is also why the strength matters so much. Now, for what it's worth, because you always ask, I use 3 milligrams of a compounded cream at night. That is me. My doctor said it. Your number is not my number, so go get your own. Not because I don't like to share, you know I tell you everything, but because there is no one size fits all. Also, where you rub it in decides whether your body even absorbs it. So if you got it and it did nothing for you, that might be the whole reason. So ask your doctor. Okay, that's 7. There's 3 left. Here comes the one that lives in my chest, not in my head. So number 8, I wish someone would have told me that it would fix the most embarrassing thing for me. So I'm going to tell you about the most embarrassing thing that testosterone fixed for me. And I've never said it on this channel. I don't think I've said it anywhere for that matter. The thing that scared me the most wasn't the libido drop or any other symptom. It was that I started feeling old next to my own husband. I know. Now, he didn't do anything. He didn't change. I did. Now, I am 6 years older than my husband, and I had never once felt that until that moment. And all of a sudden, I felt like the older one in the room, the less than one. And I did not tell a living soul, not my husband, not my doctor, not even the group chat. Because how do you even say that sentence out loud? I didn't know. And then one day I'm scrolling through the comments on my last testosterone video, and a woman writes something that made me just sit down for a minute and think about it. She said, I had stopped liking my husband. It wasn't him, it was my body failing me. And that was just the whole thing right there that I feel like so many of us don't say. It was never that we stopped loving them or being attracted to them. And it was never that we actually got old. Our body just turned the volume all the way down on the wanting, on the drive, on the part of you that feels lit up and alive. And that quiet part where the volume is turned down is exactly what makes you feel old and less than, even when nothing about you actually changed. So here's the part that matters. When I got my testosterone right, the volume got turned back up on my life. And yes, the sex drive was part of it. But the real thing I got back was me. I stopped feeling like the older one, the less than one. I felt wanted and lit up and like I've got decades of good things ahead of me, not behind me. So, if you've ever looked at your partner and suddenly felt older or invisible, or like the spark kind of went one-sided, I can't really sit here and tell you that testosterone is the only reason why. There's a lot of things that can make a woman feel that way, let's be honest. But I'm telling you what it was like for me. Something had gone quiet in me when I got my hormones right. It came back and I felt like me, and that's been the goal the whole time. So maybe, just maybe, it's that for you too. I don't know. All right, that's 8. There's 2 left. And number 9 is the part that I'm really the only part that I'm qualified to tell you. So number 9, I wish somebody would have told me that it's rarely ever just testosterone. I know. Not everything that you're blaming on testosterone is actually testosterone's fault. I know, it's so easy to blame. Anyways, testosterone is almost never a one and done. It's one instrument, not the whole orchestra. For a lot of women, it only really sings once estrogen and progesterone are in the mix too. And for some of you, it's the progesterone that finally lets you sleep for the first time since the Obama administration. So if testosterone alone did nothing for you, that might be why. Now, here's where I have to correct something because my background is in clinical nutrition and I just keep seeing this online. So here it is. People swear that your blood sugar and your cortisol are suppressing your testosterone. And I love that they're thinking about the foundation. Get to the root cause. I love that shit. But it's not that simple. In women, insulin resistance can actually push your available testosterone up, especially with PCOS. High insulin lowers that binding protein, the one I told you about, SHBG, remember? And it pushes your ovaries to make more. So more of your testosterone comes free. So the idea that blood sugar problems automatically tank your testosterone, it's not true. That's not really how this works. And there's also this thing that people love to say, which is cortisol steals your sex hormones. Also no. See, your hormones don't have a group chat where cortisol comes in and talks the rest of them into quitting. It's like, fuck this shit. We're not doing this anymore. That doesn't happen. But what I will say is chronic stress absolutely matters. It can turn down the signals between your brain and your ovaries that make your hormones in the first place. And a whole lot of the symptoms that you'd blame on low testosterone can also show up when you're sleeping like shit or when you're running out just you're stressed the fuck out all the time and your blood sugar's on a roller coaster. So yes, testosterone matters, but it works best inside of a body that's actually taken care of because hot as fuck was always healthy as fuck too. All right, if you're into this and you're like, girl, tell me everything that you're not telling me in this one episode about hormones, then I would invite you to join us inside the Vanity Club. The Vanity Club is where we go deep on this and we talk about not just one hormone, but the entire orchestra and how they play together. If you'd like to join us, the link is in the description. Okay, that's number 9. And now the one that you've all been waiting for, or just that I've been making you wait for, I guess. Number 10, I wish someone would have told me what to say and where the fuck to get it. Jesus Christ, why is it so hard? So here's exactly how I would handle the appointment if I wanted to talk about testosterone without getting laughed out of the office, which is what happened to me the first time I went in and asked for it. You'll see that in the other episode. Your regular doctor might be fantastic with hormones. Cool, I love that for you. Or they might barely deal with menopause at all. I'm not spending 45 minutes trying to convert somebody who decided how they feel about testosterone 10 years ago. Like you'd be wasting your breath. If it were me, I would look for someone who actually does this all day long. A menopause specialist, a gynecologist, or another clinician with real experience treating women in midlife. And listen, telehealth can be great too. I love that, but I'd still want somebody practicing evidence-based medicine, not somebody whose entire business model of telehealth is selling me hormones. Okay, so that's who I'd look for. Now, when I get in there, I'm not begging for testosterone. First and foremost, I am having an actual conversation about whether or not it's right for me. I would tell them exactly what changed, when, my symptoms, and exactly what I want help with. I would also ask what else could be causing those symptoms. If they're considering testosterone, I would ask what labs they use, including free testosterone and SHBG. I'd ask how they monitor the treatment, what form of testosterone they prescribe, and how they make sure that my levels don't end up higher than the normal female range. And if they tell me that testosterone isn't appropriate for me, okay, fine, tell me why. I want to know why. That's different from dismissing the conversation altogether, right? Tell me why, and tell me what is appropriate for me. Now, if they laugh, they pat my hand, or they somehow make my husband part of the conversation about my own motherfucking body, I am not staying there to argue. I'm not staying at all. I'm just fucking leaving. Now, to be clear, I don't need a doctor who agrees with everything I want. That's probably a really shitty doctor, right? Because sometimes I want some crazy shit. I need a doctor who takes me seriously enough to have the conversation. And because I know that appointment can feel like a lot, I made you the exact thing that I would want to walk in with. I made a cheat sheet that shows you what to ask, what to get tested, and what a brush off sounds like so that you can catch it in real time. It's called the Testosterone Appointment Companion. It's totally free. Just go and check out the description. The link is there. Grab it, take it with you, and then walk into your appointment ready. All right, here's what I actually want you to take from all of this. This was never about getting some perfect number on a lab. It wasn't about a pellet, and no, I did not try to grow a little PP. I also did not wake up able to bench press my husband, which honestly, some mornings feels like a missed opportunity. I just felt like myself again. I had more desire, more energy. I felt stronger, and I wanted things again. And I think that's the part of this conversation that we don't talk about enough. Women spend half our lives being told that we're too much, we want too much, we expect too much, we're too everything, right? We're too ambitious, we're too sexual, we're too vain, too fucking whatever. And then we hit a certain age and suddenly we're supposed to be totally cool with wanting less because our body decided that that's what happens now. Like, fuck that. I have already lived through the part of my life where somebody else got to decide what I was allowed to want. And I don't know about you, but I am not doing that shit again with aging. And I'm not saying testosterone is the answer for every woman. It's not. I'm saying you don't have to accept feeling like less of yourself without asking why. You are still allowed to want the sex, the strength, the energy, the whole hot as fuck life. At 40, at 60, at 90, you don't age out of wanting. And maybe that is what this whole thing was even about. And on that note, a toast. So grab a drink, whatever you got is perfect. I'd like to thank myself for walking into that 6-month performance review with a whole page of everything I wanted and not folding it up and putting it away when the beige man across from me told me to be realistic. For sitting there while someone explained why I should want less and somehow knowing even then that he was wrong. For years later, asking for testosterone, even when I got laughed at, because I wasn't ready to call disappearing aging and just move on. For saying I felt old next to my husband out loud on camera, because that one stung just a little. For never once handing you a magic number just because it would have been easier than telling you the truth. A toast to the woman in my comments who said it wasn't him, it was my body failing me. You, ma'am, said the thing that most of us can't. And to the girl at that 6-month review who felt the want drain out of her, turns out you got every single thing on that page and then some. So fuck other people telling you what's possible for your own life. And to every woman who's ever been told she's too young to feel this way, or that she's too dramatic or too demanding, or that everything looks normal so she must be fine, we are done believing them. And you are still allowed to want. At 40, at 60, at 90, at any age. A toast to who we were, to who we are, and to the hottest fuck versions of ourselves we are becoming. For that and so much more, I'd like to thank myself. Cheers. Hits the spot every time, every single time.